Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl Shakim B. Today I am going to be giving you guys five um, journal tips that I've been working on and creating. And I'm actually really excited to share because I've been using them for myself as well. Before I begin, I just want to make sure that you guys subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the thumbs up. It definitely helps rank my videos and boosts my channel engagement. Also, make sure you guys are interacting in the comment section. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is from this episode. So, I just want to start with one of the most important, yet powerful, underrated tools for trauma healing, which is journaling. Trauma lives in the body and the mind, also looping into our subconscious. Journaling helps us break that cycle by giving our emotions a structured outlet, allowing us to process pain, recognize patterns, and create new empowering narratives. Now, what drove me to want to do this episode and actually talk about this, and let me go back, sorry. Hi, I'm Shakim B. I'm a life coach and NLP practitioner. And a lot of the things that I've learned from my certification and credentials, I've actually been applying actively to my life. So that's just a little bit about me. But one of the things that I noticed was certain fight or flight responses throughout the day. And it really got me curious as to why I'm having these certain reactions or responses throughout the day. Um, Nonetheless, a couple of weeks ago, I was watching the Wiz. I don't know if y'all remember that movie, The Wiz with Michael Jackson and Diane Ross. Get he's on down the road. um, I actually really love that movie, but I was watching that movie and I couldn't help but to notice my emotional body was very anxious for some reason. So I actually started thinking, like, while I was watching the movie, why am I feeling like this? Why am I responding and reacting, not reacting, but more or less responding to this movie in the way that I am? And it didn't subside until after the part of the movie where they had went to, sorry, let me turn this off, Emerald City. And they were dancing green. You got to be green. So after, like, up until that point, I was having like a full on panic attack. And so prior to that, I had been journaling every night. And what I noticed was that my way of journaling was just very robotic and not very like uh deep, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm trying to get to know myself. It was more or less like, today I woke up and I did this, that, and the third, and this is what I'm grateful for. And then I do my tarot card spread and kind of just like keep it pushing. That was my, I got that out the way for the day, which is, not really helpful, I think, because it kind of surpasses a lot of the things that are going on internally for me. So I kind of wanted to get to the root of that, which caused me to create a worksheet that I will be gifting you guys at the end of this episode. When you click the link in my bio or in the description, you'll see the worksheet uploaded there as well. And I do have another free gift for you guys at the end of the episode, so please make sure you stick around. Um, so, with that in mind, sometimes staring at a blank page can feel overwhelming. That's why I wanted to share some tools that can make journaling easier and more effective. Journaling tools for healing trauma. So, I'm going to give you guys the first one, which is guided prompts. Now, a lot of the times when I find that when I'm journaling, like I just said previously, what ends up happening is there's a lot of like just robotic, I'm just, going through the motion and talking about the way of the day, as opposed to actually getting that depth. There's seems to be a lack of depth. And I feel like, people that don't really necessarily have full on experience with journaling tend to approach it that way. And then another thing is, when while journaling, I don't know if it's just me or if other people do it, but I feel like when I'm journaling, I'm writing as if someone might possibly look at my look at my, they might read it, which kind of uh digs at the depth that I'm not able to open up with myself all of the way. So this is the first one was the guided prompts. So if you don't know where to start, use prompts like, what emotion am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? And if you're not familiar with body scanning, that's a part of it's like a meditative process. So with body scanning, what happens is you close your eyes, you go into a meditative state, and then from that meditative state, you just kind of start tuning your focus into inward. So you're tuning into your body, and you're noticing if there's any sort of heavy weight. Um, Emotion there. So it could be like tension in your leg or twitching in your muscle or anxiety in your stomach or like that the tingling that you get in your heart, which is kind of like borderline excitement or anxiety, right? Another question you could ask is, if my pain had a voice, what would it say? Now I did this the other day um, with a financial. Oh, I'm so sorry. With a financial journal prompting, just to forge some accountability there and try to get myself in alignment with, the way that finances are being spent and the relationship that I have with money, right? So the question was, if your ego had a voice, what would it sound like? What would it say? And I know it's kind of like a really difficult question to answer because like we don't necessarily look at our ego or our pain with a voice, but I think in some ways, if you can best use your own understanding of the way that you perceive that inner voice, just word it the best way you can. Another question would be, what would I say to my younger self who experienced this trauma? Okay. Now, one thing that I've heard time and time again is, as adults, with all of the pain and trauma that we've been through, right? We have somehow adapted, our egos have adapted in a way that it protects us from the same type of trauma over and over again, right? So that goes back to, and it's not verbatim, but I've heard it have been said before that the person that you are now was meant to protect your younger self, right? So if it's like, if I knew then what I know now, type of ordeal. Now, number two is the free writing method, right? So, with the free writing method, there's not a whole lot of thought that takes place with that. You're just basically setting your timer for 10 minutes and you're writing continuously without censoring yourself. You're going to let your thoughts flow naturally. And the key is to write without judgment. So, without judgment, that goes back to the when I write pretty much very carefully. I guess it's like guarded. It's a guarded method of writing to where I feel like someone is one day going to, violate my privacy and read the fine contents inside of my journal. With this the free writing method, it gets rid of all of that. So you're not necessarily overthinking, you're not thinking at all. You're just taking your emotion and putting it straight on paper, right? And then after that 10 minutes it's up. What you want to do is you want to go back um, into what you wrote and see how that has made you feel. And then depending on how you feel, then you can continue writing based on that. And then what I like to do also is I like to start questioning certain parts of my journaling. So, for instance, if I say I want something, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask myself, why? Why do you want this? Because the why for a lot of things, for everything really, the why is always going to be the most beneficial and crucial reason, or should be, for why you're doing something, right? If you are just doing things mindlessly, then what is really the point, right? The third tip is a letter writing exercise. So, with this, you're going to write a letter to your past self or even the person or situation that caused the trauma. You don't have to send it, but expressing these emotions in writing can be incredibly freeing. I'm sorry, guys, I'm stumbling over my words. So, that I don't think that necessarily needs any explanation when you're doing the letter writing exercise, that is more so for you as opposed to the other person, right? And that's that the letter writing is just part one. I'm gonna actually give you guys the other part next. Not next, but after this one. So, number four is a gratitude journal. So, when you're processing trauma, balance is key. Writing five things that you're grateful for daily helps shift your focus and regulate your emotions. And I tend to do my gratitude journaling at nighttime. The reason why I do it at nighttime as opposed to the day is because I've had time to process everything through the day, and I like to journal at night just so that I can reflect on the day and then kind of figure out how I can make tomorrow better, right? And then also trying to stay mindful of being in the present moment as opposed to like try to jump too much into the next day or too much back into earlier in the day or whatever, but just an overall synopsis. When you do gratitude journaling, it does something with the energy to where it does like checks and balances, right? So for instance, if I might have only had $1 during the day. And that $1 might have been able to buy me probably, I don't know what it can buy anymore, but it could probably get me like a Lucy if you're a cigarette smoker, right? Maybe I can get a Lucy. But I was able to hold on to that dollar. And instead, I, held on to it for just in case something else came up that I was able to contribute my dollar to, right? Now, two things happen. It creates a level of appreciation for myself because I was able to exercise a goal that I had already set, which was to quit smoking, right? Also, it works towards my financial goals of saving money, so not spending so frivolously. Not that it takes away from the trauma, but it checks and balances because now you have more trust in yourself, or I have more trust in myself, and know that I can set a goal and I can accomplish it. So that's step number four. And then the fifth prompt is the story shifting exercise. So this goes back to this is part two to the third exercise, which was the letter writing exercise. So, with this story shifting exercise, what you want to do is you want to write down your traumatic experience just as it happened. Then you want to rewrite it by changing the perspective. Focus on what you've learned, how you survived, and the strength that you have gained. Now, this is going to sound a little bit delusional to some people, but I don't care. It's actually been working for me. So I definitely implore you to at least try it. One of the tips or the tricks that I learned in my coaching program was also story shifting, right? But instead of writing there's a second part to it, right? So the first part is you're going to write it down exactly as it happened, right? And then you're going to write how what you learned from it, how you survived, and the strength that you've gained. Now, I've tried it this forward way, right? But the thing about trauma and its effect on the mind is if one thing happens that reignites that wiring in the brain that starts firing off those electrodes, your body is naturally going to go back into that fight or flight feeling, that over excessive amount of anxiety that you initially had when that first incident happened, right? So what I started doing was I started retelling the story differently. And I'll open up with you guys. Some time ago, I was dealing with this individual who intuitively, I knew that it wasn't a smart move, but because I enjoyed having another person around me, and enjoying have the company, and then just not being alone, I ignored all of the red flags. There was actually an incident where we got into an argument, and the argument kind of went left because I asked him to leave, and he refused to leave. He didn't leave. So we, ended up going back and forth and arguing with each other, and I pushed him and, put my head to his head, and I was like, "Leave, like, get out, get the out of my house." And he completely lost it and, tried to strangle me to death. Um, so I'm still working through this. But one of the things that I noticed is that I have like an extreme level of fear. It's gotten better over time, but to the point where I'm taking extra precautions like around and in my house because I don't know, like once you feel threatened inside of your home, I don't know if there's ever a time or a time that I will feel 100% safe in my house again, right? Even to the point where I'm like barricading my door at night, just in case someone breaks in and tries to finish the job. That's not funny, but laugh at my pain, whatever. But yeah, so when I find I'm in bed and I'm, getting ready to go into a full blown panic attack, what I started doing is telling the story differently. Um, Instead of it going, and ending with me, being strangulated, it ended with him peacefully and gracefully leaving my house and then me cutting ties. So again, it sounds a bit delusional, but it works for me because every night I'm able to go to sleep early and earlier and I'm sleeping better and better, right? So this is just one tip that works for me and maybe it'll work for someone else too. So the reason why journaling works is because it calms the nervous system by externalizing emotions instead of keeping them trapped inside. For anyone that's familiar with, science teaching, energy cannot be destroyed; it can only be transferred, right? So, if you're basically just sitting with these emotions inside of you, and they're not necessarily going anywhere, they're not being worked out, right? Then ultimately they start creating disparities inside of the body, right? And this has been already scientifically proven where they've shown how trauma and PTSD can actually have negative effects on the body, such as like maybe like heart issues or you know some people might have like issues with digestion, or sexual issues because all of that energy is it's just bottled up inside of your body, right? And it's also been scientifically proven that women are more prone to have um, more health issues because of the excessive amount of cortisol levels that are being dumped constantly in our bodies, right? It also allows you to see the progress over time. So one thing about it is I've always been very heavy on journaling. When I journal, I started when I was little, but when I started journaling, I would go back and read things that I was going through at that particular time, and have been able to kind of like measure my success. And for some people, it works. Some people are able to, maybe you're upset about, the way that you're responding or reacting to something now, and then you go back and you have a time where you're reflecting on um, your journal and you're like, hey, like I've actually made progress because at one point I would respond or react this way. And now, I handle things this way. So I think it's a great, valuable tool. Also, it gives your pain a voice in a safe space without judgment. Now, full disclosure, while journaling, because I mentioned earlier in this video that I had a tendency of journaling like someone was going to read it, right? And that is because I have a distrust of, putting my thoughts, my own personal thoughts in a journal, because I've had multiple times where people have gone into my journal and, taken the things that I were feeling and held resentment resent me resentment towards me about the way that I felt. So it took me a really long time to be able to start journaling freely for myself, and not having the fear or the worry that someone else would go and violate that trust. So, in closing, journaling is a conversation with yourself. It's a space where you can be completely honest, free, and clear of expectations. So, if you never tried it before, I want to challenge you guys to go ahead, get yourself a journal, and start writing. All right. Try one of the prompts that I've given you today, and you might be surprised with the insights that you gain. Now, here's the part that hopefully, if you guys were able to stick around, the free gift that I have for you guys, if you click the link in the description, you guys are going to come across my link tree. On one of the links, there is a free 30-minute coaching session. And I'm offering that to everybody that is able to subscribe today. Okay. You will all be entitled to a 30-minute free coaching session, as well as access to the worksheet that I've created. It's going to be a downloadable PDF file that you can just kind of either work on your computer, or you can print out and fill it out. So make sure that you guys leave a comment. The PDF file will have to be sent to you via email. I know I said in the beginning, I don't think I uploaded it yet, but I can send it to you via email. So make sure you guys let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was from this video. Are you currently journaling right now? If not, what's holding you back from journaling? If there are any fears, what is the fear? And if you have been journaling, how is that going? How has it helped you progress so far in your life? All right. So again, as always, make sure that you guys, oh my God, I forgot my banner. Dear. Okay, there it is. Make sure you guys don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Please, please, please. It helps the ranking on my video and my channel, and helps more people find me. And until next time, okay, bye.